Hey guys and gals, welcome to the first ever Empowering Forward Momentum live stream with an actual real live guest. Tonight I've got with me David Vargas, who I've been connected with for a while through Facebook. Never actually met in person, but we've chatted and become good internet friends. And he's got some really cool stuff going on. Um, Tonight we're talking about understanding multiple streams of income. And I'm really interested in the approach that David has to this. He says that financial freedom starts with the awareness of money, a relationship and understanding of how it works, and how we can learn to make it work for us. He is a father, Marine veteran. He's come through PTSD, alcohol, and drug abuse, and he's overcome all of that by the grace of God. He's a coach, trainer, and speaker with the John Maxwell Team. What can't this guy do? But he says he's just a normal guy who's always looking for an answer. So, David, I'm so glad that you joined us tonight. Super happy to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to get to visit with you guys today.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you give us a little bit more of your background, go more in depth, kind of talk about a little of your journey from, as a young man, maybe teenager, sitting through high school, and kind of what led you to becoming who you are today.
Well, all the man, that's far. That's
We
far.
don't we don't have to go into the whole long biography version if you don't
Right.
want to, but like a little bit of the high points of your journey that
I'll,
that
I'll try to do
developed into
short,
the
short
man you are
versions.
today.
That's the 25 years of stuff.
Right?
Okay, so right out of high school, I worked for a little while in odd jobs, trying to figure out kind of what am I supposed to be doing. I have no clue. I'm a teenager. Um, it's this I've just kind of been thrown into life. And so worked for about a year, and then I decided, well, what am I going to do? Join the military, just like everybody else. Either you join the military or you go to college. Those are the only two real choices, unless you've got a plan. And I was a
Mhm.
teenager that didn't have a plan. Joined the Marines. I joined the reserves because I didn't want to be gone for 4 years. I didn't want to actually go to war. Well, turns out the reserves were the first ones to go during Operation Enduring Freedom. I had
Backfired.
a couple of months left on my contract. I'm like, I'm almost out. I'm glad nothing's happened. The towers hit, and then I got a call that's maybe 15 minutes later from my sergeant said, "Be ready." Now nothing happened for about 2 years till '03. Then we got called up, went to war. Or it sucked. It was hot, and there were bugs. Man, bugs. I still have a problem with bugs today. But past that, PTSD didn't kick in for a couple of years. And I didn't. I thought if I was going to get it, it was going to be right after. But it didn't kick in for a couple of years. There was a lot of I was very embarrassed about the PTSD, so I just drank it away, just like most Marines do. And so here a year or two ago, I go to get some life insurance because I feel like I'm old. I need to go ahead and make sure I get something in place so that my family has something in case in case I get called home. And the insurance people come back and they say, "Well, we can't give you insurance. Your liver's bad." I
Mm.
was like, "What? 20 years of drinking alcohol will do that. Why didn't I think of that, right?
Who knew? Yeah.
Right, who knew? Smack in the face. I had been drinking heavily for 20 years. Um, so that was a real wake up call. I had to start making some real changes, real changes, or else I was going to be gone. So, fast forward another year, this is about a year ago is when I started that journey. So getting sober really opened up a whole lot of doors for me once I got past the whole the reason I was drinking. I realized why I was drinking. It was to hide the PTSD. Went to the VA, actually got on some medicine that was going to help me get off of the alcohol, help me manage my PTSD. It's not something that goes away, but if you work hard at it, it's something that you can manage so you can live
Mhm.
as normal as possible while still, struggling with the things that we struggle with. And so in that journey, I had been working on different ways to make money. And COVID hit, I lost my business. I had a karaoke DJ business for a long time, and that for about 15 years. Karaoke DJ, the alcohol fit right in, so
Yeah, yeah,
I
for
was
sure.
able to drink and make money at the same time. Who doesn't dream of being able to do that, right?
Right? It's every person's dream.
Fine. Yes, every 21-year-olds, sometimes 17-year-olds. But so that had been my business for the last 15 years. So when COVID hit, I was not able to work anywhere. So I had to figure out a new way to make money to support my family because thank God my wife was the woman that she is, and she said, "I got you until you get back on your feet." And so when COVID hit, I started doing a lot of studying. I studied alternate streams of income, multiple streams of income, different types of investments. I studied all kinds of stuff. I remember you talking about what was it? Selling other people's courses, affiliate marketing.
Yeah, affiliate marketing. There you go.
I started studying some of that stuff. And so after having studied all of that, and then after having sobered up, I was able to connect all of that information that I had been filling my head with and finally started applying some of this stuff. And so over this last year, I've started a couple of different businesses. I've learned how to build assets. I've really learned how to manage money, how to control the way that I believe and think about money, and shift the way that I spend and save money, and then create assets so that that money keeps making money.
Mm,
So,
yeah, that's the dream. Get that passive income portfolio built up and have it, have your money working for you. I don't know. Have you ever read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon?
yes,
Yeah.
Augmandino.
Fantastic book.
Yeah,
I love it. He talks about making money your slave. Instead of you slaving for your money, make money your slave so that it
exactly,
makes more slaves for you and builds that up.
exactly.
I want to
It's
go back just a little bit on your timeline. You talked about having come through the military and coming out with PTSD. I don't necessarily want to go into that, but I would ask you, and the reason I ask is I've got some good friends that have also struggled with that, started drinking it away, and have been able to overcome that to some extent. But for you, what was the key to being able to, quit drinking to get away from the PTSD? What was key there for you, if I can ask that?
guys, I'm on the phone. Sorry, that
Gotta
was,
love families. Oh, you're
I
good.
love it. I love it. Every once in a while, I do gotta do the dad word. But for me, it was the decision. I had to make a decision. I had to say, this is my life in this moment, in this second. Do I want the rest of my life to look like the last 5, 10 years? And I told
Mhm.
myself, no, I don't want that. I don't want to feel that way anymore. I don't want to be afraid anymore. I don't want to be ashamed of who I am and the way that I'm reacting to things anymore. And so it came down to a decision. And so once you have the decision made, the the answer starts to come to you because you have taken accountability for the way that you've been, and you said, okay, I accept the person that I am right now in this moment. I accept all the stuff that I did in the past. What do we do now? So that opened up the door to have me stop beating myself up for being the way that I was because of the things that I had gone through. And I started to really think, okay, now what can I do? Not what can I not control, but what are the things that I can control? What actions can I start taking so that
Mhm.
the next 5 years are better than the last 5 years?
Yeah.
And just that decision is what stimulated me to start saying, okay, no more this, no more that, no more this. And it wasn't easy. There was a
Oh,
real battle in my head for the first, I'd say, 3 months. And there was actual physical pain and nausea from giving up the alcohol. It was pretty bad. I mean, think about it, 20 years alcohol.
that's
But
that's that's a long habit stacking to try to erase in just a short time.
that's the thing, is that had become my normal. Half a liter of vodka every night had become my
Uh,
normal. And that was, if I didn't have that, everything was out of whack. That was my habit.
mhm.
That was the way that things were. And so having to break that was a struggle, but I knew that I had to make that change.
Mhm. Making the choice and then taking the step and sticking to it. That's awesome. So let's dive into the money thing a little bit. Like understanding multiple streams of income, understanding the money. Talk a little bit like how do most people view money and how can we come to understand it a little better? How should we view money?
Well, I don't want to say it should, because I don't like telling people what they should do or what they have to do. For me, I can only share my experience. I can only
Yeah.
share, the realization that I came to was that I had to, if I was going to stop being poor, I had to stop spending money. Bottom line, I had to change the way that I saw money, and I had to change the relationship that I had with money. And that started with understanding that you only have three or four basic needs. You have your house, the place where you live, maybe a vehicle to get around, food, and clothing. Those are the four basic needs. Everything
Mhm.
else is secondary. Everything else. You can live without your phone. Even though 90% of the teenagers that I know would say you cannot. You can
It's an
live
extension of their arm at this point. I think
without
if
it.
evolution is true, soon
But
that thing's going to be stuck onto their hand.
yeah. So when you put that perspective in front of somebody, at least that's what I did for myself. I put that perspective as in, what do I absolutely need? These are the things that I
Mhm.
absolutely need. And then everything else became secondary. And then I ranked everything that I spent my money on. If you actually do a budget, if you actually write out all of your spending, you can rank most important to least important based off of how it affects your life. You got to have a house, you got to have a way to get around to and from work, you got to have clothes, you got to have food. Now,
Mhm.
when it comes to like food and clothes, those things are you can make shifts there to save money. And even if it's something small, like taking your food to lunch, taking your food to work instead of buying your lunch, or buying stocking up on snacks instead of going and grabbing something at the convenience store. Small
Mhm.
changes like that, you know, mapping out your route to work so that it's a little bit more efficient so that you save gas. Or only going to the store when you need to go to the store, maybe once or twice a week versus every time you're coming home from work, making a side trip to HEB or whatever store or whatever grocery store that you got to pick up little things.
Yeah,
Stock
because you
up.
always grab an extra $5 worth of stuff, and
Yeah,
that
exactly.
adds up like crazy.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying is that if you budget that way, you actually see where your money's going instead of just swiping your card or throwing that couple of bucks of cash. Depending on how you keep your money. Some people are more comfortable with cash, some people are more comfortable with a card, but it's so easy to swipe. So and then
Yeah.
you've got the Apple Pay stuff where you just put your phone up to the thing. It's ridiculous.
You don't ever see it. You don't see it going away.
And then nowadays you can just order food from your phone. You can go to the website, the grocery store, type in all the stuff that you want, and then hit send, and they'll bring you your groceries. There's no struggle anymore. You
Yeah.
know, and so it's just too convenient to spend money. So if you really want to take control of it, you gotta first know where it goes, and then when you start to decide, okay, I could probably live without this little thing at the bottom. I could probably live without this other thing, and then you start to really whittle it down to what it is that you really really need, and then you find the money. You find the money that you didn't think you had, and that's money
Mhm.
that you're going to want to invest in books. That's money that you're going to want to invest in courses, in coaching if you can afford coaching. Those are going to be the best ways to go. And then when you really get that, guys, I'm on the phone. Quit yelling. Love it. Okay, so the understanding the money part. Okay, so once you get that whittled down, you say, okay, now I do have a little bit of money. Now I do have a little bit of money. I'm going to start learning, start reading the books, taking the courses, going to the conferences, whatever it is that whatever level of growth you're ready to make, start making that growth in whatever area you want. We're specifically talking about money right here. There's a book that I'm going to recommend. It's called Business of the 21st Century, and uh, it's a Kiyosaki book.
Okay, Robert Kiyosaki, yeah.
I think he wrote it in 11, where he talks about when you're looking at they're playing a video game. Hold on a second.
Uh, That's great. You gotta love kids. They really love to get into what they're doing in life. I'm not sure how or where we as adults lose that passion for life that kids have. Like, where does that go away?
I think it's the disappointments that we endure over time.
Mm,
The too many no's, too many you can't do that, too many you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not brave enough to do whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And so I think we get beat down over the years, kind of beaten into submission, as in, this is the level of life that you can really enjoy because this is just where you're at because of either your emotional state, your circumstances, your environment. There's lots of different things that beat us down over the years. But if we could
yeah.
get back to that passion for life, that love of the simple things, it's just I really feel like life would be so much better.
Mhm. I have a question I wanna bring up here, and if you wanna think about it for a second and speak to it later. It says, "Because of my line of career as a veteran and correctional officer, our average lifespan after retirement is 18 to 36 months. Should I live more comfortably now in the moment, making memories with my 2 kids I have full custody of?" And I don't know if you have anything to say to that. I'm not sure who that is. Over on Facebook, if you hit allow StreamYard, there's a way you can do that to allow your name to show up in StreamYard, so I can't tell who is commenting, or you can just post your name in there. But
As an older guy, now you say you have younger kids, or the listener or the watcher has younger kids. You spend every moment that you can with those kids because when they're young, they're most impressionable, and you are their biggest hero whenever they're young, whenever they're super young, and you have the opportunity to pour into them all the love and hope and aspiration and inspiration that you can. That's just something that I practice with my kids. If I'm working or doing something or focusing on, like I said, I've got a couple different projects that I'm working on. If I'm working and one of my kids says, "Dad, can you come play hide and seek? You want to play the floor is lava?" Whatever I'm doing, I pause and I'll go and I'll play with them for a little bit because whatever my project is that I'm working on, that can wait. But they're going to grow up. They're going to grow up so fast. I have a 24-year-old, and I still remember holding her when she was 3 months, like it was yesterday. I can.
Mhm.
So don't let that time run away from you. I would
Yeah,
say spend time with your kids. But on the other side, whenever you're trying to you want to make sure that you're building something for them, not just the pouring into them and spending the time with them, but whenever you're working, work. But if you're around your kids, be around your kids, be present. So I don't know
yeah,
if that answers your question, but if it doesn't, ask another one and I'll be happy to try to help.
yeah. He just commented his name. It's a buddy of mine that I grew up with years ago. We haven't seen each other for the last few years, but still got that little connection. But I know he's gone through some things, having come through some of the same situations you did, and yeah, I don't understand it, but I have quite a few friends who've gone through it, and I definitely empathize or sympathize with that. So I always like making those connections for people that can help each other out.
Right. If I'm speaking to the PTSD side, I would say get help. Get help and don't be ashamed of the way that you feel because you are feeling normal human feelings. The way that it was explained to me is that when we're put in those situations, we're we have to turn off our emotions. We have to turn off our feelings so that we can get through the experience. Because there are some people that can't handle that type of thing and they break down and they become victims. But
Yeah,
Marines, we run in. Where the bullets are coming this way, we're going towards the bullets. That's just the way that we're trained. That's the way that we see life. But we're still human beings. So when it's all done, that's when we start processing what's actually happened, and that's when it starts to impact us. So if you
yeah,
are struggling with PTSD, go get help. If it's so if you're a police officer or something and it happened out in the field, go see your psychiatrist if that's what you have access to. If you're a service member, Go to the VA, be 100% honest. Say, this is how I feel. This is what's going on. I need help. They have to help you. It's in your contract. It's in your contract. They have to help you. You said, I will go and fight in this other country for dirt. You know, you're going to pay me just a couple of bucks. I will risk my life in this other country in service to my country. In the contract, it says, when you get back, we will take care of you. In way fancier words, that's what it says. And
Mm-hmm.
so go to the VA, keep fighting, and get the help that you need. Because if I would hate to read a story where another one of my brothers lost the fight, you know,
Yep.
that
Yeah.
bugs me. So go
It
get the
does.
help.
It's tough.
It is.
He clarified his question, and I love what you said there. But he clarified his question. It was more trying to save money for the future versus living a good life with his kids now. Like, where's the balance, and how do you do that? He's a single dad with 2 kids,
Okay.
and so asking about that balance there.
The simple answer is kids don't care about stuff. You could one of me and my kids' favorite things to do, and like I said, I can only speak from my experience. My kid loves cardboard boxes. Cardboard boxes. We could buy her a super expensive thing that came in a cardboard box. She'll take the thing out and draw on, cut up, make designs out of the cardboard box. So the idea that I want to get across to you is that it doesn't matter what you're doing with your kids, as long as you're doing something with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be expensive. Ice cream's only a couple bucks. Taking them to the park is absolutely free in most places that I know about. You know, it's not about I think the question is do I spend the money on my kids or do I spend it building something? I say do both. Just set aside some of the money that you would be spending on the child and understand that you could take that money and build something that they could benefit from in 20 years when they really need it, when they're
Yeah.
starting their life, when they need to buy that first car, when they need to buy their first house because they just started their family. That's a lot of people don't think 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. They're just thinking about right now. It's okay to think of both, but don't let it weigh you down. Don't let it get too heavy. Like, oh, I'm not taking care of my family. I don't have anything for them. I just started last year. I'm 44 now. I just started last year, and I still have enough time to build something that they're going to be proud of, that they're going to be able to use in their teens and their 20s, you know, for the rest of their life. But it's all about understanding that you got to start now, and you've got to be consistent with the things that you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably gonna come out with like a course or something on how to do some of this stuff. But if you want help, if you want coaching, or if you want, you know, something along those lines, I'll probably put something together just because Ken knows a lot of people, and if I could help people, I'll put something together for them.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. And I'll go ahead.
But no, I hope that answers your question better than
Yeah.
the first part.
Yeah. And kids are like, I don't have any kids of my own, but I've worked with a lot of kids, spent a lot of time with lots of different kids. They are the ultimate experience junkies. Like, you don't have to spend a lot of money on them. They just want to do things and have you spend devoted time with them. Like, even kids that are not my kids, all they want is quality. That's the experience that I've had with any kid I've ever interacted with. If you take time devoted to them, that puts them on cloud 9, like,
It
in a
really
minute.
does because it validates them. It makes them feel appreciated, recognized, wanted, loved. You know, and it doesn't take a lot to do that. Listen to their story, join in on their fun, whatever game they've invented, play along. Don't try to break their rules. Don't try to bring your own rules into the game. Let
Mhm.
it be their game and you play by their rules. They will appreciate it beyond words.
Yep. I don't know if you can see the comments over there. He said he answered both of his issues with your answer. So with the money and the PTSD. So awesome. Glad for that. So moving on to talked about or a little bit about adding value to yourself. What are some of the ways that you found most effective? Like, say somebody is just starting out and doesn't have a lot of money, maybe back where you were when you first started on the journey. What was some of the things that you did to add value to yourself so that you could start earning more money?
Um, Man, where do I start? I would say the first steps that I did was listening to podcasts.
Mm,
Guys,
yes.
I'm on the cloud. Come here.
That's great.
Come here. Say hi, and then go. You can't see her. Let me
Hey,
see.
buddy.
She just took a shower.
Oh, hey,
Hi.
girl. How are you?
Okay, go away. Dad's on the phone. Simple stuff, the free stuff. Podcasts, YouTube videos, anything that's going to pour a little bit of value into you until you find something that really sticks, something that really says,
Mm.
I want to learn more about that. Then you go get, no, she didn't. I'm on a call.
Yeah.
So
Do you have any recommendations there? I know you mentioned that Business in the 21st Century as a book. What kind of podcast do you recommend? Do you
probably
have
the
any?
3 or 4 that have been most impactful for me is Les Brown. He's awesome. Anthony Robbins, Jim Rohn.
He's got a lot of good
I
audios.
love him. Brian Tracy's really good. Zig Ziglar's really good. But I mean, I recommend going and listening to a lot of them and finding the one that really resonates with you. Jim Rohn, me and this guy, and then John Maxwell, obviously, because he's one of my heroes.
Yeah. Yep. Jesse, you asked about on the other platform. I'm guessing you mean on YouTube. Search for Empowering Forward Momentum. Or if you go to my personal Facebook page, there will be a link in one of the posts there where I talked about this live stream. So you can find the link to the YouTube stream. So how do I get to, once we've gone through the investment, we've become somebody who can add more value to other people and start earning a little more money, how do we get to where we can keep more of it? Because I know for myself, I struggle with lifestyle creep. You start making a little bit more. It's like now I can afford the thing, and you start adding the things, and you still end up with the same amount of money at the end of the month. None.
It's
How do you
probably
get to where
not
you can keep more of
none.
that?
I like that. No. There's a concept. What is it called? I just had it in my head. I was ready to tell you, and I just
Don't you hate
forgot it.
that? I do
It
that
is.
too.
Well, it's keeping yourself from doing something that you want until you have enough to get what it is you want. What is it called? Man, I'm gonna think of it and then I'll get it to you. But what it really is that right now you can afford everything that you need, right?
Yep.
So when you create the new stream of income, don't treat it like income. Treat it like you don't have it. Put it into an asset or
Gotcha.
develop or start a business. Start a business and pour that money into the business and have the business make more money and then keep that money in the business. Don't take any out. Keep pouring the money back into the business so that it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And there's ways that I can show you how to do that, but I don't have time to go into it now. And then once you have the business on autopilot, you can pour the money from the business into an asset, and then the asset keeps growing. So the money you're still living a good lifestyle. You're still living good. You just don't pretend you don't have that money yet until it becomes a nice solid level and the business is growing at a level where you're like, okay, now I can start enjoying some of the money. The problem
Hmm.
with starting businesses is there's a principle. Man, I can't remember the name. It's in a book. I'll figure out and I'll send it to you.
You're
But
not
the
talking about like the 80-20 rule or something or
no, that's the Pareto principle, which is a
yeah.
very good one that applies to a whole lot of life too. But this one is a principle that pretty much talks about if you have money in your pocket, you're going to spend it.
Hmm.
And so it doesn't matter if you make more money, if it's in your pocket, you're going to spend it. So you
Yeah.
never have money. So the way to defeat that, the way to break that cycle is to pretend that you don't have the money. You make the money,
Gotcha.
you make the money, and then you set it aside. I don't have that money. That's not mine. That's my business's money.
Right.
Until you hit a level where you can start paying yourself. don't pay yourself for at least a year. At least a year. People are like, oh, a year. Imagine what you could do with the money that you save over a year. You're already comfortable where you're at. Unless you're in a position where you're really struggling, that's when you got to go back to the budgeting. But
Yeah.
when you're at the level that we're talking about, you're good. Your bills are paid. You're not struggling. You're just fine. So take the extra money that you got, go start the business, and then let the business build. Build the business for at least a year. And then once the business is running on autopilot, the money that the business makes, pour that into an asset. And then keep that circle going. Keep that circle going.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And
I hear
go
a
ahead.
lot of people that talk about, wanting to invest, wanting to build a little income portfolio or starting something, and they say they have 500, 1,000, or even up to 10,000 to invest, and people think that they're gonna save their way to wealth in the future. If you've got 1,000 to 10,000 to invest, most people I talk to say invest into yourself, into your knowledge, your education, and all of those things. Where is that kind of where you go with that?
Yes. Jim Rohn talks about a system of building wealth where it's a 70-10-10. Have you ever heard of this?
It sounds familiar, but no, go into it.
Okay, so what he talks about is that if you could teach yourself to live off of 70% of your income, the other 30% goes to three different areas. The first is personal growth. It is adding value to yourself. The second area is giving, charitable giving. That's another 10%. Doesn't matter where you give it, you've got to give it, because that teaches you how to be giving whenever you don't have a whole lot of money. Because it's easy to
Mm,
say, if I'm a millionaire, yeah, I'll give 10% of that. 10% of a million's $100,000, right? I don't know anybody that's willing to part with $100,000 when their mindset is still, I've only got a little bit of money. But when you
yeah,
teach yourself how to give when you don't have much, it's easier when you have more to give, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
And then
it does.
the third 10% is money that you set aside for an opportunity, an opportunity to invest money, to lend
Gotcha.
out the money so that you're getting a return on the money. So that's Jim Rohn's, and I'm following that one because it makes sense. And the
Yeah,
great thing
I
is
like
that
that.
he said I've implemented this for years, and he said I'm now at a point in my life where I spend 10%, or I live off of 10% of my money, and I give away the rest. How
Wow.
awesome would it be able?
Would
Would it
that not be awesome?
I would, right? If I could sit there and write a check for $100,000, like, here, I make plenty of money. You know what I mean? To be
Yeah, that
able
would
to
be great.
give to the community, to build a church, to build a school,
Mhm.
but you have to put the work in. You have to build yourself up to a level where you have the opportunity to do that kind of giving. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I might step on some toes here or get into, might stir up a little bit of controversy here, but how do you feel about people almost glorifying poverty, because it's the Christian thing to do? Like,
I, okay, let
do
me
you
let me just touch on that just a little bit, and it's probably going to step on some toes too, but it's in the Bible. It's money. The What is it? Money is the root of all evil, right?
the love of money.
It's the love of money. It's where people get
Uh-huh.
it mixed up. Is that they think that money is the root of all evil. It's the love of money. Money is a tool. That's all it is. If you sat $1,000 on your desk, it's not going to do anything but sit right there on that desk. It cannot do anything unless someone puts that money to work or spends it.
Mhm.
It can't do anything unless you use it. It's a tool, just like a hammer. You can build stuff with it or you can destroy with it.
Yep.
It's a tool. It's all in how you use it. So if you're able to make a lot of money, imagine what good you could do with it. Now, on the opposite end of that, if your character is sour and bad, if you're a bad person and you have a lot of money, you're just going to do a lot of bad things. If you're a good person, you can do a lot of good things with money. So there's to make the tool evil is not doesn't make sense. It's like
Right.
that's a bad hammer over there. Your eye on
Yeah.
that hammer over there. It's a bad hammer.
The
It's
the the tools magnify who you are as a person.
Exactly.
You know, you can give somebody that's destructive a foam hammer and they're not going to destroy much. But if you give them
They're
a
gonna
wrecking
try.
ball, yeah, you give them a wrecking ball, you know, they can wreak havoc.
Right.
So the bigger the tool or the bigger the money, the the more it magnifies who you are as a person. So if, like you said, if you're a decent person, you can do good with it. So that's where I go with that. I hate I really don't like when I see people kind of spouting or promoting that attitude of the money is evil, when think of all the good that you can do. Like, you know, if you think that having money is evil, that's an attitude problem for you. It's because maybe you don't think you can handle it. But the people that can handle, the people that have allowed themselves to be used by God in the right way, you know, they're giving all of that to help other people.
Exactly that.
That's where
Exactly.
I go with it.
And that's sometimes people are raised with that belief system that money is the root of all evil, that money's bad. So having too much of it is going to cause a stigma. People aren't going to like you because you have too much money. I don't know anybody that has ever been mad at someone for giving them something that they need or helping them out. Nobody's like, "Oh, don't give me your money. It's you're rich." No one that's ever that was receiving money or receiving something that was given to them that was really going to help them was mad at the person for help for for them helping them. I've never seen it. So I don't see how it's a bad thing to help people to develop yourself to a level to where you are capable of giving that type of help to the community or to like I said building something that other people can benefit from.
Yep. It just increases the impact that you have the capability to do.
Exactly that.
So we've talked about keeping more of the money. Talked a little bit about investing the money. Do you want to go a little bit more into kind of areas to invest in? We talked a little about that.
Well, the first area you're going to want is to invest in yourself. That's why I really recommend that book because the book is based on the concept is if I'm going to start a business, what kind of business do I want to start? And so he goes into different industries. I think he really focuses on direct sales. I think it's direct sales because the business is already built for you. All
Right.
you're
Okay.
because you're not having to build all levels of the business. All you've got to do is go out there and sell. You've already got the products, you've already got the logistics, you already got the how you're going to receive money, how you're going to get paid, all that, all the business part of it's done. All you have to do is go out there and run the business. And so that's why he talks about direct sales. But I really like it because in any business that you're going to build, you're going to have like a base set of skills. You're going to have to be able to communicate with people. You're going to have to be able to be productive. You're going to have all of these. I don't know if you call them. I think they're called soft skills. You're going to
Yeah.
have this foundation of soft skills before you can ever even consider really building a business. So the reason I like the direct sales industry is because it teaches you how to run a business before you have to go out and build a business. And so that's why I really like that book because it gives you like a business school experience for the least amount of money. Instead of going and spending 4 years in a college on a degree. Now I'm not dogging college. I'm sure it's great. But going
Yeah.
out there
I'll
and
dog it.
spending $80,000 for a piece of paper that you may never use, you know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
my cousin's got a master's in criminal justice, and he's a UPS guy because their pay structure is so much better than being a parole officer. So
Yeah.
he spent 6 years of his life getting a piece of paper that he doesn't use.
Wow.
I'm like, man, if you could dedicate 2 years to learning business, really learning business, in something simple like direct sales, and then applying those principles that you learned in something small that was very inexpensive to start into something bigger, something that you're really passionate about, why would you not? You will get way more value out of it.
Yeah. For
If
sure.
if you want to go to college, go to college, if that's your thing. I just know that it only took me 6 months to really understand the principles of building a business. And so now I have three businesses and I'm starting the assets side. So,
That's
and
awesome.
it's just gonna keep going. I sleep better at night. Not stressed anymore. I spend time with my kids whenever I feel like it. I wake up, work out, and then I start doing work. But because
Mhm.
I built those habits. I work from home because it's better for my PTSD. And so I work for a couple of hours. I'll go run some errands. I work for a couple of hours, and that's it. That's it.
That's
I'm
awesome.
not
That's
out in
the
the
life,
field.
man.
I'm not out in the field for 10, 12 hours coming home and not having the energy to spend any time with my family. It's
Mhm.
work-life balance. Work-life
Yep.
balance. If you're spending all that time out in the work area and not taking care of the things that really need taken care of, you're missing out on your children growing up. Man, I mean, my kids are already 6, 7, and 8. 6, 7, and 9. Man, I'm old. I can't remember. But if I was living life the way that I was a couple of years back when everything was great, I would have been missing out on all the experiences that I've had for the last year. So I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, that's great. I love hearing when people say that. If you when you reach reach that goal that you wanted and you have the life that you just love living, love waking up every day and going and doing the thing. That's
Seriously.
that's fantastic. So before you get there, if somebody's got debt, what's the I mean, I guess we kind of covered that budgeting and getting out of the debt. Is there more to it than running a budget?
It's as simple as stop spending money. It is as simple as stop spending money. And that goes back to the relationship that you have with money. What are you using it for? Are you spending your money on things to make you feel good, to make you look like you have money? Are you dressing nice and have the great car, but you don't have food to put on your table? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Are you spending money to make yourself feel better? Like, oh well, I do have money, so I'm gonna buy, everybody at the bar a round of drinks to make them think that I have money. But then I'm gonna go home and not gonna be able to pay my bills because I did that to make myself look good in that moment. If you can
Right.
humble yourself, really humble yourself and say, okay, I'm in a pickle, I'm in a spot, I'm at a place in my life where I'm really hurting. You got to evaluate the way that you live and make those changes and make those adaptations. And then you really see, I really don't need all that other stuff. I don't need that extra stuff. I don't need to go out to eat all the time. Maybe I spend some time with my family, cooking a meal. That's two birds with one stone. You're present and then you're eating healthier and then you're saving money. That's three.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do is to actually admit that, you know what, I can't just go buy everything I want to buy. And I mean, it's a tough place to be. I mean, I go up and down, through those areas where I'm like, okay, we're doing pretty good, and then back, okay, things didn't go as planned, and now let's tighten the belts a little bit and eat rice and beans for a month.
And
It's
sometimes that's the thing that you got to do. But if you
yeah.
can get to a point in your life where you've got that balance, where you're like, okay, I know we're doing good. I don't need that thing that I've been wanting. I almost had that phrase again. Dang it.
It'll maybe come to you.
It will. It almost did, and I almost spat it out, but I
Uh,
forgot it in that moment.
maybe that's an age thing. I don't know, because I get that too. I'll be talking and I'll be thinking of something before I say it. And when I go to say it, it's like gone,
I
gone.
got it. Delayed gratification.
Delayed
That's the phrase.
gratification.
Delayed gratification, because we live in a world where it's so easy to get anything we want whenever we want at the drop of a hat. If you can practice delayed gratification and say, I want it, but I'm not going to get it right now. I'm going to put the money that I was going to buy that with over to where somewhere where I know I'm going to put that money to work. And if you can
Mhm.
practice that enough, then you're going to build that money in that business or in that investment to where it's 10, 20 times what it was before. Then you can get the really nice thing instead of taking the weekend trip, to a close by town. You take that big trip to Venice.
There you go.
The wife, because the wife really wants to go to Venice, so we're going to go to Venice. But I've positioned myself to where, like, okay, we're not going to take the little trips, we're going to take the big one. Delayed gratification. That's what I've been digging for. Thank you,
There
God.
you go. That is a tough thing to do, though, is to, I want this thing. I'm right here. I have the $10 that it takes to get it. It's only $10,
Right.
but it's only $10 1,000 times, and you've got $10,000.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep, it
That's where
adds
that.
up. I just saw a thing the other day, somebody saying that, the poor look at, poor people that stay poor, they say, well, it's only $1. I'm going to buy the pack of gum. And the people that have money are like, no, it's $1. And because they keep that dollar, their dollars keep adding up. Next thing you know, they've got a wad of dollars in their pocket because they have not been spending all those dollars.
Right.
And it compounds.
That's exactly it.
Um,
That's it. That word right there. Compound interest is the most powerful force when it comes to
mhm.
finances. The most powerful force.
Yep.
Uninterrupted compound interest is exactly that's how I'm building the asset, but I'm not going to go into that. But if you want to really understand it, look up uninterrupted compound interest.
Okay. All right. I'll put that down. What books do you recommend other than that business in the 21st century, or do you have any courses that you recommend along with that?
Well, the course that really got me on track for being productive was Insane Productivity by Darren Hardy. And then he's got a book that I just read a month or two ago called The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster.
Okay. You said insane productivity.
Insane Productivity, yes. That one's awesome. It's really awesome. You got to digest it though, because it's
Yeah.
a lot of
And
great
what was
information.
his name?
Darren Hardy,
Darren Hardy. And the
mhm,
book.
and he did the course, and the book is called The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster.
Entrepreneurial. I hate spelling that word.
Yeah, I just do ENT.
Uh,
And then there's another book. I know I read tons of books. There's another book if you're really looking at if you're in a position where you put away a little bit of money and you want to start making that money grow. It's called Becoming Your Own Banker.
mm,
I think it's Nash. Last name's Nash. Becoming Your Own Banker.
I have that here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That book was like, oh my god.
and that really opens your eyes to how money works.
Yeah,
It's interesting. It makes you think about the system, and we're not going to dive into all of that. It makes you angry.
it does. It does,
uh,
especially if well, I've started if you read the book, he talks about getting started. So I've started that process. So we're gonna see
did
how
you?
that works
Okay.
out. And then here in a couple of months, I'll get back to you. And I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. If it worked or if it didn't.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Cool. Becoming your own baker. I can't remember his first name either. Something Nash. You're right on
It
that.
is
So
Nelson Nash, I think.
Nelson Nash. There you go.
That's what it is. Don't quote me on that.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
I think that's it. I don't have it.
Sounds right anyway. What like how you talked a couple of times about maybe helping people out that are getting started in this. Do you have a course or a program?
I'm building
Or
one.
you're building one? Okay.
I'm building one, and it's going to be really, really cheap because I really want people to get the information. Because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of in the beginning stages, and if I can start to push this information out while I'm in the beginning stages, I'll be able to inspire people to get started, just to get started.
Yeah.
Because that's really that first step is the hard part. And
It is.
I've taken it and I'm starting to see growth. So I'm like, okay, I need to tell everybody how to take that first step. Because once
That's
you get
awesome.
past that first step, step outside of your comfort zone and you start to see the potential and start to experience the potential, you're like, man, this is awesome. I got to share it with the world.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you have the
Proselytize everybody.
platform to do that. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. Anything else you want to share before we wrap it up? Or I mean, yeah, where can people find you and connect with you?
Um, well, I'm on Facebook, David Vargas. This face is the front deal. I've got A couple different pages, but if you just want to get a hold of me and visit with me about what we've talked about here, I'm happy to have a conversation. And then you can pass on my contact information to anybody
Yeah.
if they need to get a hold of me.
All right. Do you I'm not gonna drop it in the show notes because you'll get spammed probably. So we'll if somebody wants to connect with you, they can reach out to one of us and then we can connect.
Absolutely. And
So
I'm like I said, I'm an open book. I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody that's ready to move forward on something.
awesome. Cool. Well, David, this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad you joined me this evening and hopefully we can do this again in the future.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet.